Hello, everyone. This is Tommy at World at War Comics, and today we got another fantastic guest. But before we get into that guest, please give us a like and a subscribe. It really helps out the channel. All right, today we have Moon the Storyteller joining us today. She is the writer and creator of Luna by KonKret Comics. You're going to love this conversation. We talk about character development, we talk about stories and writing stories, we talk about her passion of comic books. We go in a lot of different directions, finding out more about that creative process and that passion of creating that Moon the Storyteller has. If you're not following her right now on Instagram, you should. She has amazing content and she's an incredible writer. So without further ado, here is Moon the Storyteller and I. Talk soon, everybody. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the World at War Comics podcast. Today, we have another special guest. Today, we're speaking with Moon the Storyteller. Moon the Storyteller, it's so good to have you on. Big fan of your Instagram for sure. And then obviously, I picked up Luna, loved it. And I thought maybe we could kind of dig in and find out a little bit more about it, if that's okay with you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for inviting me to the podcast. I was honored that you even wanted to talk about Luna. So thank you.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I always get excited when I see a really cool indie comic where the story is amazing and the art is just really vibrant and incredible. So, indie comics is hard, right? As an indie comic creator, it's not the easiest thing to do. And when you're able to put all that together and you have a really nice, high quality comic, you get a little excited as a fan to get that kind of stuff. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's kind of go way back if that's okay. I would love to understand when you started to have a passion for comic books, and then obviously storytelling, all that good stuff. So let's start with comics if that's okay.
Yes. So I before 2018, I had never picked up a comic book.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I always loved the comic book adaptations, like X-Men movies, Batman, Michael Keaton, just
Yeah.
all the movies I just loved.
Yeah.
So I always loved superheroes and superpowers but it wasn't until 2018 when I saw T'Challa,
Yeah.
when I saw Black Panther.
Yep.
Chadwick Boseman's performance was
Mhm.
out of this world. And it's a shame that we don't have him here anymore. But that performance alone, and then in the backdrop of the whole movie and the cast and the plot and the storyline, I was like, okay, I got to read more about this character. So that's when I started delving into comic books, and some of my first comic books were like the mainstream, Wonder Woman. I always forget her name, but the one that can punch through the multiverse. And eventually I came across the Wakanda Forever series by Nnedi Okorafor. So that's how I got into comics.
Nice, nice. Well, we're glad to have you as part of the community. I think that is awesome. So where did the passion for storytelling start in your life?
When I was 4.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's cool.
I've always loved to read. And so my mother, she enrolled me in the Fraggle Rock book club.
Nice.
So, if you know what Fraggle Rock is, then you're my people.
Yeah.
So, that's how my love for stories kind of grew. And then of course, Reading Rainbow was another staple of our childhood. And as I got older, started writing poetry, and I started writing stories. And those stories will go to my grave with me. I will never probably share those stories. But they were also often a reflection of what I was going through at the time. So, middle school, the woes of middle school, and my first crush and things like that. So I've always loved to tell stories. I'm always telling stories in my head. So it started when I was a child.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like it's been with you your whole life. So when did Luna, the actual story, come about? Was that after T'Challa? and everything that happened after that, is that when the story came, or did you have that story from a long time ago and then adapted it to comic book form? How did that happen?
So Luna has always been with me for so
Mhm.
many years. I have dreamed about this character. She didn't have a face, she didn't have a
Mm.
name, but
Yeah,
when I was in trouble in my dreams, she would show up.
that's cool.
And obviously it's an extension of, the subconscious, but she had sometimes she could fly, sometimes she could touch the sun, just some really random powers,
Yeah,
and she's always been there.
yeah.
And one day I started writing about her, and it was actually a completely different story.
Hmm.
I didn't, the characters that you see now in the book, they weren't there, but this was
Hmm.
about kind of her story, her origin story.
Yeah.
And so when I started getting into comic books, I said, I'm going to actually sit down and write. The comic book idea didn't actually come to me first.
Mhm.
Luna was actually a novel at first.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was 5 chapters in before I got bored and wanted to quit. And I said, well, I want to tell her story. She's waiting for her story to be told.
Yeah.
So that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to turn this into a comic book.
Mm.
So that's why you kind of see that some of the dialogue is a reflection of that. Like you can kind of see I lifted it off the pages of the novel I was working on.
Mm.
So that's how Luna came about.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then when did you meet Lonzo and get connected with KonKret so that you could put that story on an actual pages?
I was really fortunate because that cover you have there, I
Yeah.
actually had before the font, before the logo, before the KonKret label, it was actually just posted that pin up on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
So and at the time, and I guess because of the hashtags you use, you come across different content. And I
Sure.
came
Yeah.
across KonKret Comics.
Mm.
So I went to their website and I bought one of their bundles. And when I got it, this was my first time seeing Black characters in so many in these amazing stories. And
Yeah.
and I know that's really like strange to hear because the comic books have Black characters, they have
Yeah.
characters of color, but it was like my first time holding, these books. I'm like, wow, these stories, I really resonate with these stories.
Yeah.
They're really grounded and they really, they're a reflection of my everyday.
Hmm.
So I posted that story. I posted me, holding the books on my stories, and I tagged KonKret Comics.
Yeah.
And somehow Anaji Rouse, who's one of the creators of KonKret Comics, he's doing really incredible things right now. He's
Does he do
adapting.
Adina?
Yes, he
Yes.
does
Yeah,
Adina.
exactly.
And he's actually adapting Odina into a live action.
Oh,
So
wow, that's
I
cool.
can't wait for that to come out. So
Yeah.
but we started chatting through the DMs. So
Uh,
that's how I was introduced to the KonKret family.
wow, that's so cool. And then from the time that you were connected to the KonKret family, how long did it take before you were able to adapt your story into comic book form, get it going, get it printed, and then have an official comic book under the KonKret label?
So I actually had pretty much finished the book because I was working
Okay.
with the artist before.
Awesome.
So by the time I had a meeting with Lonzo, who's the
Hmm.
CEO of KonKret, the book was finished. And
Oh,
so all
cool.
I really had to do was pitch this story to him. And he was like, okay. So he sent me over the agreement. I signed it, and it took a few more months to kind of,
Yeah.
because he had some other creators in pipeline.
Hmm.
But it finally dropped on Kickstarter November 2022.
Nice. That is so cool. And obviously, it was a successful Kickstarter. I saw on the back page all the names of the people that donated to the campaign. So I assume it was
Yes.
successful and everything worked out, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, for all thanks to God, all praise
Yeah,
and glory to God.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, he connected me with a really incredible publishing company.
Yeah.
So I do believe that having the KonKret name behind me helped me because KonKret, when people see that label, they know it's going to be quality. So
Absolutely.
that definitely helped. and also when when you do the analytics after the fact, you kind of see where the people, the traffic came from.
Yeah,
About 50% of the traffic was people that never never knew about me or Luna or KonKret. It came from the discovery page, which
that's
means
cool.
that people saw this on Kickstarter and they were sold.
Yeah,
So there, all thanks and glory, all praise and glory to God.
yeah,
But having KonKret in my corner
yeah,
and then having an incredible artist
yeah.
kind of sealed the deal for me.
Absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, you could have an amazing story, but if you don't have a great artist,
Hmm.
because fans are also collectors, it's really hard sometimes. But yeah, one of the things I noticed right away is not only the story cool, but the art is absolutely fantastic. The colors are vibrant. It's beautiful. It's really
Hmm.
well done. Should be very proud of what you created,
Thank
because
you.
it is awesome. And then I'm also a huge fan of KonKret. I think I own just about everything they published so far. There might be one or two maybe I'm missing, but it is definitely one of the better indie comic publishers in the United
Oh, wow.
States. I mean, it's
Thank
incredible.
you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so excited for all of you. So wow, I mean that is cool. So what's next, Moon? I mean, you obviously have issue one. I got it in my hands. How close are we to an issue two? Because it's a
So,
six-part series, correct?
correct. In
Yeah.
this first series, it's going to be 6 books.
Okay.
So, issue 2 script is done. The editor, the editor gave his seal of approval.
Yeah.
So, we're about halfway through. I don't know, we're more than that. We're about more than halfway through with all the the finished art.
Okay.
And then the artist has about 10 more pages to go. So
Yeah.
he just sent me over the sketches. They're incredible. I sent over my notes, and now he's working on the lines and the flats.
Nice.
And then he works with someone else to actually finish the color. So
Yeah.
it's going to be this year.
Nice.
But I'm gonna let the artist do what he does best,
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations. How
Thank
about
you.
character development? So as I'm reading, right, obviously Luna, you've had in your heart for a very long time, but you did make the comment that a lot of the other characters weren't part of the original story, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, we have Abek, we have Felena, we have Prinsha, we have King Zo. I mean, there's a lot of different characters. How did the character development, what is the process that you take when creating characters for your
Mhm.
story?
So I always start with a theme.
Hmm.
So, I think about what I want for most of the characters. Some characters are kind of just fillers, right?
For sure.
But for the main characters, I think about what kind of themes I want to convey,
Hmm.
in this story. What do I want to share with my audience? What do I want to share with my readers?
Yeah.
And usually that's tied to your worldview.
Hmm.
So Luna, yeah, she's an extension of me. But as you can see, Luna is very centered, very loyal to her people. Her
Absolutely.
obligation to her country is what really drives her to
Hmm.
do some of the things she does.
Yeah.
So I'm a very firm believer in being loyal and recognizing that you have obligations when you have powers, right? When you have a certain level of power. So
Sure.
that's one of the themes. Also protecting your peace,
Yeah.
protecting your kingdom and protecting your peace. That is what
Yeah.
Luna represents as well. And as far as the other characters like Abek, I wanted to show what happens when you allow love
Hmm.
to penetrate your heart.
Yeah.
So you'll see that in his character development.
Yeah.
With Kira and Zoe, I'm not going to give away, why they have, all these issues,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's obviously something there
Hmm.
that they want to resolve, and they feel that the only way to resolve it is to, do
Hmm.
start this war
Yeah.
with Queen Luna and the Maruvian. So there's a lesson there as well. So I usually start with theme, like what do I want to share with my readers, and so then I choose a character, then I develop the character from there. And then of course you throw in different things from your personal life,
Hmm.
like with the woman, woman writing women. we're
Hmm.
going to throw in motherhood. Like,
Sure.
motherhood is something that a lot of women experience.
Yep.
We're going to throw in sisterhood. You'll see sisterhood, that theme of sisterhood as well. So, but
Nice.
for me, I usually start with theme
Hmm.
and then I try to build out from there.
That's awesome. What has been your favorite part of the storytelling and world building and character creating? What has been kind of the most, I guess, the most rewarding part of the process up to this point? Is there one, or is that too hard?
Well, that's easier now because
Uh-huh.
I went to my first Comic Con as
Nice.
a vendor
Yeah.
back in June, and I was at Awesome Con in DC. So that was a bigger event than what it's not like Baltimore.
Yeah.
And I've always I think I've been to two other kind of venues, but I was just visiting. So I never kind of saw the other side. But
Yeah.
I was vending, my husband and my son was there with me, helping me.
Nice.
And my favorite, most rewarding moment so far is hearing from the people that have fallen in love with this story.
Yeah.
There was the first day, there was a little girl. She came rushing up and she saw Luna. She picked up Luna and says, "I want this one, mommy." And the mom was like, "Okay, wait a minute. Let's see what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah.
let's make
Exactly.
sure. Let's make sure it's family friendly."
Yeah. Yeah. For
So,
sure.
I told her what the synopsis was. It's a queen who discovers she has powers and she's the only one that can save her world from a threat that
Yeah.
has promised to destroy everything that she loves. So, and she was able to flip through the pages. It's family friendly. So the little girl, they bought it. And that was cool. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, great. That's one of my first sales of the day. I was really excited. So the very next day, the little girl comes rushing up and she says, "I love Luna." I was like, "Oh, you did?" And she's like, "Yeah, I want to be a storyteller. I want to write stories like you." And so her mom was like, "Yeah, she read it. She's been reading it all day, all night, all day. And do you have any advice for her?" And I said, "Well, keep reading stories
Yeah.
and make sure when you think of a story, don't be afraid to tell it. Write
Yeah.
it down. And even if you don't think it's good, it's good."
Yeah.
So that by far has been one of the most rewarding experiences because I'm seeing outside of my family, outside of my support system who has shown so much love and
Hmm.
support for me, outside of that, it is starting to resonate with other people.
Yeah.
And that is, I feel, where the storytelling truly comes because your family's going to, most of the
Yeah.
time your family's going to be like, "Yeah, it's good."
Yeah.
But you really don't know, you really don't know if it's good until a
Yeah.
stranger reads it and like, "Oh, wow, this is really good."
Yeah.
So I would say hearing from people like, sending me messages and,
Yeah.
sending me emails about how much this story that has touched them
Yeah.
and how they can't wait for the second issue to come out. Because if you think this first issue was emotional
Yeah.
and like, oh, drama filled, then wait till the second one is even more emotional and it really does tug at your heartstrings.
Mm.
And I'm hoping that by the sixth issue, people look at this story as more than just a superhero story. They look at it as a reflection of what's possible when you allow love, when you allow peace and unity to penetrate your heart. So,
That's
but that by far, is one of the most rewarding experiences when you create something.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What a great story too. Love it.
Thank you.
Love it. Now, there's always the bad. What has been maybe the most difficult or the most frustrating part about creating a comic book?
The money.
Yeah, I know. I don't think people
um,
realize it ain't cheap to produce a
No, it's
comic
not.
book, right?
It's not. It's the money.
Yeah.
And I don't like I can honestly say I don't think I've made a profit
Yeah.
yet because everything you make, you put right back into the book. Comic cons, are expensive, getting there, hotels and stuff like that. So I would say money,
Yeah.
is one of the biggest challenges. And fortunately, I have a a way to finance my dream. I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
Also, I would say balancing my time, with my family,
Yeah.
with my spiritual life,
Hmm.
with creating. I have aging parents. So just balancing all of that,
Yeah.
to allow time for my dream and my writing.
Yeah.
So I would say money and time.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with that. Yeah, especially if you want to do a really good quality comic book, right? Because you want to pay your artists a fair wage, and in order to get a good artist, they're probably going to make a little more than others. So, yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. I think that's why it's so important to have these successful Kickstarters. And now that you've already created kind of a fan base of issue one, fingers crossed that the next issue will be a little bit easier to fund, and maybe they'll
Mhm.
go a little bit over whatever your goal was, so that way you could actually put that toward issue three as well. But
Yes.
that's what it's all about, and that's what's great about Kickstarters. I think Kickstarters. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I don't know about you if you have a local comic book store where you live, but I'm very fortunate. I live in a small town in Southern California, and there's one right here in town. But a lot of people don't have that. They have to go, 5 to 50 miles to get to a comic book store. Kickstarter and Indiegogo and other crowdfunding really has become kind of that online comic book store, especially if you love independent comics. So I find
Mhm.
myself scrolling through Kickstarter just looking for something that looks unique. So I'm hoping that as it gets bigger and bigger, right, it provides a lot more opportunity for creators like yourself and others to be able to fund a little bit easier and get your comic into the hands of someone that maybe hasn't experienced it yet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with your statement on Kickstarter. I think Kickstarter is a wonderful tool
Hmm.
that is underutilized by indie creators.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but Kickstarter does a lot for you. I mean, you
Yeah.
set up the page, you get approved.
Hmm.
They even though they don't market for you,
Yeah.
they if you create a really great product,
Hmm.
it's the website, and you can, and it gives you a backer report. It makes,
Hmm.
shipping, processing the orders really easy.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think it's every creator should be using Kickstarter or something similar to
Yeah.
fund their projects. Even if they don't recoup every single dime they put into the
Yeah.
project, they can recoup something.
Absolutely.
So I think where creators kind of drop the ball is marketing,
Yeah.
because they create a product, they create this Kickstarter, it launches, and then there's two backers.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, there's 10 backers.
Yeah.
And it's not the product, it's just
Yeah.
that people don't know about it,
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think the marketing with creators is something that, we all struggle with. But
Hmm.
because I love social media, everyone knew about my project.
Yeah.
And we had close to, I think we had about 190 something backers. Now, a few, of course, backed out
Yeah.
towards the end. So I think when it all came down to it, was like 180. And
Wow.
so everybody knew about Luna, all
Yeah.
my friends, all my family. And I didn't wait till launch day to
Yeah.
tell. I told them weeks. I was like, mark your calendars.
Yeah.
This is the day it's launching. I talked about it for months. Like, I talked about Luna for months. Like I was telling you, I posted the pinup. Everyone in my circle, in my virtual circle, and in my friends and family, they knew that Luna was coming. So the day it launched, we funded within 2 hours because
Wow.
everyone knew.
Yeah. That's incredible.
And then, like, that last week, we had a lot more people join. So
Yeah.
that's the one thing. You have to talk about your project, talk about it till you're at, because and it's so funny, because as much as I talked about it, there were still people at the end, after it had closed,
Yeah.
the Kickstarter had ended, says, I didn't know about it. And I was like, I didn't send them a personal message. They was like,
Yeah.
you should have sent me a message. So creators, you know, people want to hear about your projects. You just have to, you
Yep.
know, tell them,
Yeah.
and they'll support it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's super exciting. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, that's so crucial to get the message out there. And, social media is an amazing platform for those type of things.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's free.
it's free. Exactly. Now, is there any plans for the rest of the year to do any other Comic Cons to get out there and sign issues and get in front of fans?
I have, well, I had plans to go to the Baltimore Comic Con in
Hmm.
September, but my family reunion is that same weekend, and I'm going on vacation afterwards. So I will be missing the Baltimore Comic Con, but there are two Comic Cons that I am going to apply to for next year.
Mm.
But like, you know, when you saying talking about the local comic book store, I
Yeah.
finally went into my local comic book store and actually met the manager.
Oh,
Dropped
good.
off a copy of Luna, dropped off a copy of Acolyte and Odina, which are two other titles.
Hmm.
And you know, I'm going to try to establish a relationship with them because I want to do book signings and I want to support my local comic book shop,
Yeah.
and get indie. And when I asked her, I said, "Where's your indie section?" She took me to the way back in the corner,
Yeah.
and it was, it was all the shelves were, all the way up to the ceiling, but it was no family friendly
Yeah.
indie book. So I feel like, family friendly, which is what Luna is something that you don't see too often in the indie world.
Yeah.
So when I see projects that I can read with my son, I
Yeah.
always support them. I
Yeah.
always support them. So but yeah, I'm hoping to build that relationship with my local comic book shop,
Yeah.
and try to get Luna in that store. So I don't, I know it's not on, I'm not with Diamond or nothing, but
Yeah.
KonKret
Yeah.
has, um, they're with Diamond.
Yeah.
With KonKret is with Diamond. So the first title that's available is Acolyte. So that I use that, of course,
Yeah.
when I was meeting the manager. I was like, oh, we're with Diamond. So and hopefully Luna will be as
Yeah.
well one day. So
Yeah. I'm sure it'll happen. I mean, getting the foot in the door is one of the hardest things.
mm,
So once the foot is in the door, I'm assuming Lonzo will be able to say, okay, here's all the other titles under our brand. So let's do it, right?
yeah, yeah, yes, definitely. So
That is so cool. That is so cool. So what's next for the remainder of the year? So we know a Kickstarter is coming at some point. Issue two, the goal is to have that out this
mhm.
year sometime. Anything else that we're missing, Moon, about Luna and everything that's going on this year?
That's pretty much it. I am working on some other projects for other creators.
Oh, wow.
That I worked. I just finished up my second project with another creator. And so now I'm about to write a novella for another creator.
Oh, cool.
So issue two is coming. I'm
Yeah.
here and I'm actually starting to prepare for the Kickstarter now.
Hmm.
I'm getting all my little marketing materials together. I'm going to start promoting more on Instagram and TikTok.
Hmm.
Just getting kind of Luna out there,
Yeah.
more and more out there. So that's what I'm working on now. And then I'm hoping next year when issue three comes out, I'll have like a little children's book that will accompany Luna. Luna when she was a little girl,
Uh,
and the different lessons her parents taught her. So um, Luna definitely is going to be growing. It's a brand that I'm going to try to grow with the help of God.
yeah.
And yeah, so Luna's here to stay. So God willing,
Yeah.
Luna is here to stay.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Moon, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much for jumping
Yeah.
on. When you do get that Kickstarter, I'll be looking for it. I'll make sure that we pump that out as well to get that in front of as
Definitely.
many people as possible. But congratulations on all your success, especially having it published under such an amazing company like KonKret, and then obviously the story, the art, it's just superb. And I can't wait to find out what happens next. We won't give anything away in issue 1. You need to go to KonKret Comics and you need to pick up Luna right now. But you and I know that there's a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end, and I can't wait to see what happens in issue 2. But
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I certainly don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it yet. They should get it. It's that good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me to
Yeah,
this amazing
absolutely.
podcast. Yes.
Yeah. If you ever want to come back on again with issue 2 or anything like that, Moon the Storyteller, you're always welcome. And
Definitely.
I hope you have a blessed rest of your week, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Definitely. You take care. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.